Hey guys, and welcome back for another episode. Today we're taking a look at the top 10 hardest medals to achieve in Star Fox 64. Last time when we covered beating and reviewing the game, there was a whole lot that went into getting the medals that just wouldn't have fit in an already extensive and long take on the game. There's so much strategy involved that it really is perfect for its own video. As a refresher, medals are achieved on each planet by ensuring all three of your teammates are present and survive, plus clearing a set kill or hit bar. Many people that played Star Fox 64 may not even be aware of how much more there is to do than just playing through the game once, and all of the exciting things that you can unlock if you are able to push through and achieve those downright challenging accomplishments. Before I get started, I'd love to know, if you've played before, what do you think the hardest levels are to medal? What's your personal hardest? For me, I'm basing this on how difficult it felt when I recently achieved the medals for my very first time, along with how many attempts it took me. Please keep in mind, with the exception of Fortuna, a level that basically serves as an almost in-game guarantee to show you that medals exist, none of these are downright easy. Without further delay, here's the very first video of its kind on the top 10 hardest medals in Star Fox 64.
Say your prayers, Andross.
Number 10. Venom II. So we come to Venom II via the hard path. We square off against Wolf and his team, but this time they're in much better ships. So much so that the other Star Wolf encounters are literally like a 2 out of 10 in comparison. It really is that drastic of a difference. This new all-range mode challenge has a learning curve so steep that it's a stern guarantee that you'll get smacked across the face over and over again when you first get here. Doing loops or 180 turns was more than enough to get you out of the other encounters in the all-range mode levels, but not anymore. You will be tailed and shot down constantly, seemingly no matter what you do, until you realize the vital skill of making use of your sharp turns, brakes, and making very efficient use of your map to create those openings. Then of course making the absolute most out of those opportunities. If you can't do these things, you will never be able to get through this level, let alone take them down within the couple minutes required to get those 200 points for the medal. And something to remember when considering the difficulty for achieving each medal is what it takes to get you there. For this one, it's coming along the hard path, ensuring that you don't lose any teammates into the stage prior, Area 6, and then actually being able to shoot down each of the 4 ships while protecting yourself and your teammates.
No way! I don't believe it! I'll go it alone from here.
Number 9. Aqueous.
Star Fox, I want you to take out the enemy bioweapon.
Yes, sir. Deploy the Blue Marine.
For those that didn't stick around or play Star Fox 64 much, you might be shocked to find yourself with an underwater submarine level. I know I was. Like a lot of these levels on the list, despite what we just went over with Venom 2, it's not that dangerous of a level to play through, but clearing 150 hits definitely is. Based on some discussion board reading that I did to get some perspective before making this list, I was honestly surprised to see that this was said to be one of the hardest medals in the game. I believe if I was playing this level in a more conventional way, that may be true. But as I was playing, I could feel how useful it would be if I had a way to just use my thumb for B and A with my index finger for the C buttons, especially the brake button, as often as possible, to avoid slipping by imperative point opportunities. If you resort to a bit of a claw grip and put your index finger on your bottom C while just going to town spamming A and B for the lasers and the infinite torpedoes they supply you with in this level, you'll actually be surprised at just how much easier this makes your life when going for the 150 in Aqueous and the rest of these medals. Number 8. Sector Y.
Fox, we're under attack. Help us out here.
I'm on my way.
Unlike in Aqueous and the rest of these, we don't have unlimited bombs, so they aren't as simple as pounding A and B while slamming the brakes as much as possible. Sector Y's target is 150, and it took me a handful of tries to get it, because there are certain point opportunities you simply have to be ready for. If you don't have hindsight on your side, you'll miss the bomb moments that you need. There are also certain parts that you may not even realize you can shoot for additional hits, and things can pass by really quickly even when you're hitting the brakes. If you do stay efficient with your homing bombs and shots, you'll realize you don't need to be perfect, and it does help that the 3-part boss fight awards you with 19 points, so you can reach this medal.
nasty little freak!
Number 7, Corneria.
It's about time you showed up, Fox. You're the only hope for our world.
I'll do my best. Andros won't have his way with me.
That's right, the first level in the game really does have a very challenging medal, especially if you're unaware of the strategy. Getting through the level is one thing, snagging 150 hits is another. Being that it's a bit more difficult to even understand a route to make 150 possible due to simply not knowing that flying through certain parts of the course result in crucial point opportunities. It's no wonder why this medal has seemed to be downright impossible for so many players. It took me multiple attempts, but fortunately it's the first level in the game, meaning that there wasn't any stress of playing through other levels to get here for attempts or the punishment of a game over sending you back to the beginning. Even still, with the unintuitive requirement of needing to know where to fly, with a lot of things out there that are easy to miss out on, it's a very tough and precise medal that takes a considerable amount of attempts to get down just right.
Who are you guys?
We're Star Fox.
You'll never defeat Andros!
Number 6, Zonus.
There's an enemy base there?
Affirmative, General.
On this toxic waste planet, you are faced with clearing 250 for this medal. When you're first attempting this one, you would probably be shocked that it's not set for 200. And that's when you realize you really need to basically shoot everything. And not just that, you have to be strategic with your homing bombs in order to get those bonus hits. Otherwise, you really can't miss anything at all. It's pretty much non-stop precise shooting, whether that's the intermittent sea creatures that are visible for hardly any time at all, every single 3-point fog light, or a box on a ship. Everything is just crucial for you to get anywhere near the mark. Even after a couple of tries, with consistent slamming on the brakes and non-stop shooting, I got to the boss fight with barely enough points, and there's just not a lot of room for error at all when you go for this medal.
Enemy fighter spotted! Take him down!
Number 5, Titania.
What are you doing? It's too dangerous there.
I can't leave Slippy hanging.
This Landmaster stage has you in a desolate wasteland with a variety of enemies and objects to blow up in your efforts to clear the 150 mark. There are large turtles that require a serious smash to destroy, ships flying overhead, with everything going on the ground and in the sky above you. There is a lot to look out for that you can easily miss. Plus, with extended sections of falling towers that make it tough to even hit what you're locked onto, opportunities can easily slip right through your fingers. It's imperative that you make the most of your various shots and bombs, while also needing to avoid locking onto the dang landmines that do not reward you with any points. Be prepared to hit the brakes a lot again, as you shoot all over the place alongside frequent bombs in order to earn this medal.
Here it comes!
Number 4, Area 6.
It's almost over. We're in your debt. Come back in one piece, Fox.
Will do, General.
The hard route's last level before Venom has you facing off against a whole lot of bad guys and a variety of ships and mechs here, which is a good thing because you need 300 hits in order to achieve this medal, the most in the game. There are a few things going on to make this one difficult. Firstly, it's not even an easy level. There are a lot of enemies out there with a lot of shots coming your way. Secondly, your teammates are put in numerous dangerous situations where you have to come to their rescue, and the tough part about that is while you're trying to save them, you're inevitably passing by point opportunities. Aside from it being tougher to survive for you and your team, you also need to be aware of using your bombs in the minefield for a huge and necessary point boost. And lastly, be prepared for this marathon of a stage where you have to mash so quickly to get through a bunch of these machines, while also, of course, being very careful so everybody, including you, survives. With so many things to shoot and so many dangers out there for so long, plus a punishing boss fight, that's why it's number 4 on the list.
They're through the second line! The last line has been breached! The shield is gone! Shoot the core!
Yippee! You did it!
Number 3, Solar.
That area's an oven. Don't go burning that R-wing. Be reasonable, Fox.
I'll be careful.
This red hot stage only requires 100 hits for the medal, but achieving that target doesn't come easily, and unlike any other level, you have an energy draining element to worry about due to the extreme heat. Solar is also a few stages into a route, so if you get here with teammates low on health, guess what? This stage becomes impossible, and you will actually have to reset your game, start over, make sure to come to their aid early enough on other levels without accidentally shooting them, and then they will have enough health to hold on. The challenge with getting the 100 is that there just isn't a lot of opportunity. There are a few key times to use your bombs that you cannot miss. Have to be quick when shooting rocks in the distance, and you will also have a very hard time if you didn't know that using your charge shots in just the right way on the big lava waves gets you a hit too. Something to also keep in mind, even when you're toward the top of the screen, your health is still getting zapped by the heat. So that means if you're constantly hitting the brakes, you're going to be put in even more danger as your health drains. Even great runs will put you just outside of the 11-point range when you approach the boss. But once you finally execute everything to perfection, you can finally earn this deceptively tough low hit count medal.
Yippee! You did it!
Number 2, Venom I.
Don't relax. We're not done yet.
Let me start off by saying, I think this could be argued as the hardest in the game. The last two are just brutal on the list. The thing about Meddling Venom 1 is basically nobody ever does it because it's not required, since getting a medal on Venom 2 is all you need to have a medal for the planet. But with Venom 1 of course being an entirely separate stage with a hit count of 200, I had to see how tough it was for the list, and good lord, Meddling Venom 1 is one of the most unnecessarily brutal challenges I've ever come across. It's on another level and requires pro-level execution. Not only did this medal take me forever, this was also the last medal I was working on, so that means I got here when my personal skill level was the highest it's been, and this was still an unbelievably hard test. Aside from needing perfect bomb placement for the waves of enemies, you need to use your homing shots in a very unintuitive way, as in you do not want to lock onto anything when you're trying to shoot the enemies on the ground, because if you did, the small explosions would miss the other enemies. So you know what that means, having to rapidly and accurately shoot your homing shots right between enemies the absolute best that you can in order to completely milk for extra hit points. You need to get the hold-release rhythm down perfectly. You'd think with a next level metagame strategy like that, you'd kill the 200 hit requirement, but no, this is the only way to get anywhere close to it. You even have to do things like taking a moment at branching paths to fire shots down the way that you're not going because you really do need each extra point that bad, which you'll soon see. And what's really crazy is that Andross is the only boss in the entire game to not reward you with any hit points. Talk about a rude surprise, meaning you'd have to play through the entire game again for another try. Typically you could count on those hits, but not even 1 point is rewarded. So you know what that means, getting here with 199, it's not good enough. I was lucky enough when I hit retry that it put me back to the last checkpoint in the hallway, but that did make me nervous because I wasn't sure if I had enough opportunities on the way to Andross. But after some more carefully placed non-aimed homing shots, I got back here with 201. Nothing short of an extremely refined and high level of skill that literally grinds for every single hit possible is going to get you this truly obscure and completely unnecessary medal. Before talking about number 1, let's briefly mention the others that didn't make the list since there are only 16 stages after all. Fortuna. As mentioned earlier, if you simply complete this level as intended by shooting down your enemies, you will earn this 50 mark medal. Meteo. The thing that makes Meteo simple is knowing about its black hole warp. As long as you shoot asteroids and enemies decently enough on the way there, you'll have an easy time with all of those targets that can be cleared with the numerous bombs they keep handing over, making it a surprisingly simple 200 to clear. Katina. This Independence Day themed level where you meet up with your old pal Bill is an okay challenge, but I found that clearing the 150 mark only took a couple of tries since there are so many enemy ships that you can take your time shooting down. And sure, there's an eventual time limit, but there's plenty of wiggle room to keep hunting down ships, also getting your +5 hit bonuses for shooting parts of the ship, and it's overall just a reasonable medal to achieve. Sector X, similarly to Meteo, you have a fair amount of things to shoot in pockets of enemies with your bombs before eventually having the opportunity to get into another wormhole with a fair amount of things to shoot. It's not as plentiful or stress-free as Meteo, plus those gates can actually be really tough to open even with the fastest of mashes if you don't have an upgraded laser. Fortunately, if you come from Katina, Bill will help you shoot the gates and it makes it a bit more simple overall. After a few tries, if you know what you're doing, it's really not that terrible to reach this 150 hit medal. Macbeth. This Landmaster stage that has you stalking the Forever Train can and will give some players challenges reaching its 150 mark. There are a lot of opportunities with the enemies, each fallen rock, and all of the different towers or parts of the ship, but the thing that makes the stage really simple to medal is hitting the 8 switches at the end. As long as you can get to 100 hits before the boss, which does not require flawless play, then keep slamming the brakes and look for those 8 switches to alter the rails, you get 50 points for it, making the 150 mark pretty simple overall.
Okay, stop it!
And the last level off of the list is Bulls. So with this level, it's kind of simple for the same reasons as Katina and Fortuna, just being that you have a lot of ships that you can shoot down pretty much endlessly. You also have a lot of points coming your way that are required by the mission, like shooting down the energy towers, plus the little things next to them, which allows you to start with almost 40 points before the horde of ships. Plus all of the weak points on the final tower, if you aren't slow, give you 10 points each. And to make this level really simple, you could take a path here that has Starwolf and his team show up, which means that's another possible 40 points. You could honestly reach 200 in Bulls, but even if you don't prioritize well, take it slow on your first try and just shoot everything, like I did, you'll still clear 150 and earn the medal. Alright, finally, let's talk about the hardest medal. I'm sure Star Fox 64 fans know what's going to be mentioned next. The one level where you absolutely don't want your teammates to help you. Number 1, Sector Z.
The enemy army is gunning for you. Be careful.
Don't worry, sir.
Oh man, I mean everywhere I looked on discussion boards, it seemed that this is the one thing just about everyone could agree on, that Sector Z was the absolute worst and hardest stage to medal. The situation is this, you need 100 hits, okay, and there's hardly enough out there to get you to this mark. Basically everything is on a tight timeline here. So you start off with some ships that aren't even the easiest to take down since they take more hits, and they're not often grouped together for bonus hits, which makes it feel like you're really scraping together pennies from the start. The thing is, 66 of your 100 points need to come from the 6 missiles that come in their 3 waves, with 1, 2, and then 3. But just based on numbers and the inherent time limit, there's no physical way you're ever going to shoot down 34 ships or anywhere close to that. So the additional points need to come from something that's absurdly random and honestly feels a bit sneaky and like a secret. There's just a handful of these space junk boxes scattered about, and they're not at all easy to see. You have to basically try shooting down ships as you fly around trying to figure out where they're at. But you also need to make a mental note of where on the map each one is, because there's just no good visual cue at all to know where they could be. Sometimes they're within other metal pieces, usually they're not, and sometimes they're just floating out in the middle of nowhere and incredibly easy to miss. There are 8 of those total scattered about, 3 points each, so finding at least 6 of these things at their various heights and locations while efficiently taking out ships along the way takes quite a bit of practice. At least your auto lock can help you with finding them, if you're close enough. But there's such limited time and you'll probably be shooting at other ships at the same time too. As if that didn't sound annoying enough, now it's time to really talk about the worst parts. When these missiles are approaching, your teammates like to get behind them early and pound their lasers at them too, which would be great for beating the level but not for reaching 100 hits. It can be very hard to ensure that you're the one to get the final shot in on each missile, especially when there are multiple of them at a time, because when they destroy it, you don't get those 11 points, which pretty much immediately takes your chances at earning this medal and throws it out the window. A couple other things to mention, this is far along the hard path, and if you were to come that way, Kat shows up and she's yet another teammate that can and will steal your 11 points, making it even worse. On top of all this, with the mark of 100 in mind, that's how many hits it takes to earn a 1-up in this game. So just like in the situation with Venom or Solar, you have limited tries on this each run. The hits of course do not add up like coins or anything like that, so each time you don't reach 100, that's a lost life, meaning you have to play through the game again. Fortunately for me, my first round of attempts, I got to see something really neat that I didn't know about. If your Great Vox ship gets hit by a missile, its aesthetic is changed for the rest of the cutscenes in the game. I mean, how awesome and thorough is that? Never would have realized it. You might wonder, with all of your teammates helping, how did a missile even hit the ship? And that's a great question. The way this happens is the easiest thing you can do to help yourself get this medal is 1. Use the warp from Sector X to Sector Z, this way you never encounter Kat and it means you're only competing for those hits with 3 teammates. Secondly, when your teammates are asking you for help, hopefully you got them here with decent health, because another metagame strategy here is that you don't want to come to their aid, especially when the missiles are on the screen, because if they're being chased by another ship, they will be busy evading those shots, and ideally that leaves you with 3 teammates all being kept busy while you get to take on all 6 missiles for yourself. With the limited tries deep into the run, your teammates' diabolical interference, and the absolute grind that it is to gather 34 points between those hard-to-see space boxes and ships, this is why Sector Z takes the #1 hardest medal on the list.
Oh no!
Well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed another Top 10 from the channel. If you enjoyed the style, I hope you check out my Top 10 hardest Maverick fights in the Super Nintendo Mega Man X games, or even the Top 10 hardest games I've ever played. Appreciate you supporting the channel, looking forward to seeing you for the next 8-bit episode, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Rob, is everything okay? Great Fox is okay.